feels like the perfect moment to talk about trimming Phoenix dactilifera, maybe a few other tidbits about this most wondrous plant native to the Middle East. I'm sure the guys that fought in Iraq probably hate this tree because it's just everywhere there. That's pretty much where it's from. Been grown for thousands of years for dates. There's a little one right there. Let's try it. Come on. Oh! I've had better. Anyway, not that bad. Better than I thought. I've actually eaten some pretty good dates off these trees. This is at Rio Vista, at a retirement community, golf community, right out by the windmills. If you can see those. Anyway, it gets really super windy out here. Also gets pretty hot, but not hot enough to make these dates look as good as they would be if they came from the Coachella Valley, which is the primary date growing region of North America. A little bit out in Arizona too. But you need a massive amount of heat to ripen these things and make them really good. They'll be kind of okay here. I was actually surprised how good they were. But anyway, we don't really plant them for the fruit so much here, but the ornamental value, which you can see is immense. I mean, look, this curved driveway. It's just so cool. Imagine if these trees weren't here. Just be like, I don't know, it wouldn't be nearly as fun. It's too bad this camphor tree is in the way. It's kind of putting a crimp in my style here. See if I get the whole thing framed up. Yeah, there you go. How about that, huh? So I've come out and I fertilize these trees. I kind of watch over them. I used to trim every damn one of them. Just can't go back, you know. That's when I was younger and more desperate. But this was probably the most brutal job you could do. I think in 2 days I trimmed every one of these trees. Had a giant man lift, had to manage all these cars coming through here. Had to stop when the cars were coming. Made a huge mess all along this road. Had to haul it all to the dump. It was like 2 loads to the dump, which is like half hour away. It was about 12, 14-hour days. 2 of them. I can get all these trees trimmed. But I came home with a big bucket of money. So at the time it was worth it, but I don't think I could ever do that again. Just thinking about that makes me cringe. It's kind of like, as I imagine, like if you're a mom, maybe you can relate. I can imagine like after you've had your kids, like thinking about going back to childbirth. That's got to be a terrible thought. Anyway, that's kind of how I think about trimming these trees. But you know what? Once you trim them though, and you like walk away and they're so beautiful, it's a really satisfying feeling. And so now I'm not sure who they have trimming them, but they're doing a great job because there's not a single dangler frond. Oftentimes what happens when you trim these trees, you have your chainsaw and your chainsaw nicks a frond and you don't know it. A frond that you didn't intend to cut. And then you drive away and like a week later the guy calls you and says, hey, there's a couple fronds hanging. And then you got to come back out and go back up there to get one frond. Huh. Yeah, so that's what can happen. But anyway, these palm trees are a fantastic way to delineate space. You can see this person here. They might not have known where the road was had it not been for these trees telling them where to go. And then penalizing them if they didn't, because they would just slam into the tree and the tree probably wouldn't even budge. They're so tough. These trees here, we can get these trees pretty much at any height. They are retired from date production from the date growing regions. And then we bring them up. They lose their vigor for date production the taller they get. And they're also harder to pick the dates from. So the growers don't mind retiring the tall ones and then selling them to us at a really reasonable rate. And then we can bring them out. The great thing about this plant too is that it is totally immune to the fusarium disease, which afflicts the canary palm. So you can rest assured that if you plant this one, there's gonna be no problemas. And they're incredibly long-lived. They'll probably last 400 years. In fact, one of the oldest palm in all of California, other than the native palms that exist out in the desert areas, Palm Springs oasis situations in Arizona, into northern Mexico, Washingtonia folifera. Besides that one, the very first palm that was planted in California was planted by a Spanish, not a conquistador, but and not a missionary, a Spanish soldier. I should love all this noise pollution. Anyway, Spanish soldier in San Diego. There's some information on the internet about it, and they had to cut it down like in the 50s or 60s or something, because it just had gotten rotted out. But it had been planted like in 1760, so the thing was like 190 years old or something. So yeah, that's how long it lasted. It was in Old Town San Diego, so it's too bad it wasn't there when I was there. But now when you trim these trees, when you first get them, usually you have a diamond cut, which basically, I'll show you the remnants of a diamond cut after many years of it fading away here. But this is a spot where each frond is held on the trunk, and they make a little bit of a bump here. So when you get these trees, you get this really beautiful trim job with all these steps. You can almost like climb this like a ladder all the way up. And this has all been wearing away over time, so it's not as clean. But when you first get them, they're just strikingly beautiful. But it makes for a really beautiful texture on the trunk over time, even when it's naturally upsizing from itself. There's a few more fruit down here. Let's try that. What do you think? Looks pretty green. There it goes. Like I said, I've had better. Anyway, so you want to trim the trunk nice and tight all the way up. Then the top, you can leave those leaf bases into a little pineapple shape right up there, and those will fall off naturally over time, and they'll sort of leave that stepped pattern behind. But what a great tree. Anyway, they grow probably about 6 inches a year. So as you can see, these palms are, I don't know, maybe 45 feet tall. And so that would make them like 90 years old from seed. Most of the time they don't really grow these from seed. Well, almost always they don't grow them from seed. They divide them because they're multi-trunking when they're young. They divide the offsets because they're genetically the same from varieties of date palms that have been passed down for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And then that assures them of a really uniform, high quality date. They're getting a clone basically. And then eventually when the tree gets bigger, they stop sending suckers up, and then they become a solitary. That's what's happened here. And anyway, so now you know how to trim it, you know how to eat it, you know where it's from, and most importantly, you know who to buy them from. Phoenix dactilifera, people.